All right. Everybody's being recorded. All right, so some things here as we, well, really, we're getting ready to get into the weekend, right? And what do we want to be looking at? Well, there's a couple things. I did make an announcement or a post about a resource, and it's kind of like under the videos link. And again, it's helpful if you are already logged into Teams to do this, because then you'll go right here, and you just need to watch that before the 14th. And all this video is just like the components. And luckily today, we don't need to worry about these external things, such as the breadboard, jumper wires, and your digital multimeters. So we don't need to work with those today, but you will have a lab that you have to work with those. So you just need to go over that before next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we'll do a lab that, working through some stuff. So make sure you check that out before next Monday, I don't know, Monday. All right, and then what else? Well, that, meaning the video, covers this prototyping fundamentals. So we don't have to worry about that today. So that means we can skip to the last thing, which is the Arduino IDE. And that's where we're going to start. I want to bust through that. So at the end, hopefully for the last like 20 minutes of class here, you can plug in your Unos and everything works and you can run a sample program. Has anyone plugged in theirs yet? Just to see what it looks like? Done anything with it? Okay. Well, we will today. All right, so then that's that. Before we really get going, are there any questions? Any questions about the class here? I have other questions. Nope. Don't forget, you can always pipe in on the conversation. I was doing these things and running like whole classes in Teams, and people are using these hands to raise your hand, to lower it. And I was like, geez, that's a little formal. I mean, you can feel like you could just cut in, but that's kind of nice. It gives a good, but I don't know. It's like, who's first hand? Who's the second hand up? Like, how do you even keep track of that? Like maybe, yeah, or something. But it doesn't seem to really do that. So Teams needs to work on that. Okay. So from the beginning, in the beginning.
Are we just getting IDs from their website?
Yeah, you can download that. If you have your own system, the ID will be on all these computers. So if you don't want to install it, you can remote into one of the systems. I should have made a post about how to access these systems remotely. And the nice thing here is I've at least got a good population in the calendar already of when the systems are being used. So you would know what system you can log into. You should always be able to if for class time, you better be able to log into your own system. If that's not the case, then there's a problem. Let me know that someone else is there. You don't even have to do any investigative work. I'll do that. Just let me know when you were trying to log in, somebody was there during class time, I will take care of that. Another thing too, especially in your other classes, if you leave your monitors on, I think I mentioned this last year, if you leave your monitors on, you remote into the system, anyone in the lab can then see your screen. So be mindful of that, so that way you're not, watching movies or something. And, or what you can always do too, if like you're gonna be the last person in here or whatever, you can just turn your monitors off. So you just turn the power button off, nobody will know, right? So then you can watch movies. I'm streaming Netflix from the lab.
I'm surprised there's not a function on those remote ins that just lets you lock the screen while you're remoted in. So the members locally can't see it.
Oh, you can do that.
You can?
Oh, well, there you go. There's a nice thing. You can lock it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh,
I thought you said
I'll
there
say
was.
it'd be nice if it was.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that would be nice.
That's not a feature.
Well, if Google wouldn't be taking off Fridays because of the pandemic, maybe we could fix some of this stuff.
Timing for Ninja.
Yeah, say, hey, I got an idea for you. Okay. So this is all about the IDE. Keep in mind that in the bottom here, you know, we are really off. You know what? I hate that when that does that. Why would that do that? That changes the resolution because the resolution is different there. Well, I'm not going to be doing too much drawing today, evidently. Which also means that I can't scroll very well. But anyway, in the underneath here, it says the Ligu, because that's actually our device, right? We're actually using that, not in, not a Arduino Uno licensed whatever. Oh, I probably had some more to say here. So what? So the way you tell your Uno what to do is you program it, right? You say, hey, I want you to do all this stuff. Makes sense. Now when you, and if I haven't mentioned this already, your programs, or, you know, we talk about implementation files, specification file, all this stuff. When you write your program, they're just called sketches. So when you hear the word sketch, you know that, okay, that's like the program to tell the Uno what to do. Again, the programming environment's Arduino IDE, and we already know that we already know what IDE stands for, Interactive Development Environment. And you upload the sketch to your Uno. That's how it works. So that's all I had to say about that. All right, so ease of use, USB. So there's really two reasons why, you know, the Uno is so nice to work with. It's like two reasons why. The first one is that programming it is really easy, especially if you have any knowledge of C or C++, like same stuff, syntax, everything. So it works out really nice for us because we already got a good solid grasp on this. Even if you haven't programmed in the past at all, you know, there's a lot of built-in functions that allow you to do things that are named coherently enough to guess what they do, and you'll actually see some of that today. Also, it's pretty lightweight too. It's not overly complicated. The other reason why this is such a nice thing, easy to use, is because of the USB, right? Yesterday, when I was making a video about the prototyping fundamentals, I talked all about the USB, and you can get power from it. And so just because I can plug it in and it'll work on Windows, that's great. It makes it easy to use. Yep, and that's all you need to program it is a USB USB cable. You do need that, the cable that came with it. It's a little short. As you can see, I have like a little bit longer one, and it is that, it's like the old school USB. What's that called? It's like port A or something.
It's whatever the printer's on.
Yeah, it's like the older one that looks a little bit bigger, so you can't use like the micro USB or the mini USB or the, you know, USB, whatever the 3.0 connection is, and so on. You need that weird one that's in your kit if you want to get a little bit longer one. All right. Put it in the other device. Yep. Yeah, and again, what's nice is without any external hardware, you can just program your Uno. Now, if you want to program like the microcontroller itself, there's where you need to have like external equipment. And, you know, to actually program the microcontroller that's on there, the little Mega, whatever it is, I forget the model number. But if you want to program that, again, you need extra stuff. You just can't plug that into USB. But we're not going to do that, so no worries there. The other thing is, you know, the environment. We said sketches already, you know, alternatives. The thing is that the Adreno's open source both the software and the hardware. So, which leads to the rise of what we're using here, which is that Eligu, right? Because if you open source the software, you open source the hardware, well, somebody can take that and be like, hey, I'm going to make it too, right? Even though it's the same components. You know, as far as like programming tools, really you can use like a text editor. You don't need anything fancy to go ahead and make a sketch. And there's a bunch of different IDEs that you can use, obviously, then to create the sketch. The only problem is not the problem, but you'll find with the Adreno here, the IDE that we have, even because I had the same problem. I had the same problem yesterday. You know, you'll typically get this like access denied error if you have open, let's say, the serial monitor at the same time as uploading the sketch, because you have like one port open and there's two things trying to use it. So you will get errors. That's fine. I'll show you a way to just fix that if that makes sense. But if you use different IDEs, you're probably will get other errors. Again, the software takes care of connectivity to the Uno, and we're going to look at all the menus in order to do that, where to go to search and find that stuff. Let's see. Again, more on that later. Typically, when needing to program a microcontroller, you would need specific hardware to communicate with that controller. Like I said, I know for me, when I was programming the microcontrollers, that, you know, again, you need this board, you need a bunch of other crap. So it's kind of a process. This makes it nice. Again, USB is what you do. That's how you program with it. The definition, though, of a programming environment, again, this will probably come up on a Kahoot, is a programming environment, not just for the Adreno, but for anything, is an application that just allows us to do programming. Great. A programming environment or an integrated development environment. Woohoo! Okay, so the nice thing here is if you've got it installed, you know, I would open it up and I'd just go through it if I were you, just so that way you get a little point of reference. If you want to go back over this video later and go through it on your own, that is totally cool too. I just want to go through some of the menus up here. So let's do that. See what they look like. And here's something I'll reiterate and talk about. You know, okay, hey, Windows Defender. Now, trying to think, this will actually block updates. What I mean by that is, even if you said cancel and I did not allow this, which I'm going to do, you can still do updates, and we'll talk all about that stuff. So don't feel like you need to have administrative permissions. Huh, that's weird. In order to get this work. Oh, you know what? Hey. You know, it's going to open the last thing that you had opened. So I'm just going to make a new one. So that way, this is what you should see. Darn it, stop you. It's a little off. I don't know. Maybe I'll recalibrate this. But this is what you'll see. And again, the thing that I'm going to say again, is that this is like a blank slate. You know, think of this as like, there's nothing going on here, even though there's some functions and, you know, okay. But what I always recommend you do is this. Before you connect your Uno into anything, push a blank slate to it. You know, like, I want to say like wipe it out, because here's why. What'll happen is you'll be working on some sketch, you'll upload it, it'll do all this fun stuff. And then, you know, tomorrow, you will then take your Uno and plug it into another, you know, project and start doing stuff. Well, what's happened is, when you write it out, it saves it. So even if you power it off, when you turn it back on, it's gonna have that old sketch. So why I say that you wanna blank it out before you get started is because you might have some digital write, digital reads, you might have some different settings, plug it into a new circuit, and then stuff's gonna get messed up, okay? So I always recommend, before you get started, just write out, blank slate, clean it out. Again, otherwise you'll have some problems. And I'll mention that, you know, again and again. Okay, so the buttons at the top here are going to be, again, you know, not that one. These buttons up here, there you go. Where's my mouse? Oh, it's way over here. Okay, I see it. Why aren't you, I think because I pulled it off the screen. Yeah. Okay, so these buttons up here, these are going to be the like quick buttons. The first one, the little check box there, is just like the compile, like build the, check it, make sure that there's no errors in my sketch, right? So that's like, think of it as a check, like check. Do you need to do that every time? No, you can just skip to the upload button, which is that little arrow over there, and that'll push out your sketch to your Uno. And obviously before doing that, it's going to build and compile your program. Before it sends it, it's going to catch any errors. But at any rate, you won't be able to differentiate between, are there errors in my sketch or are there errors with communication to the Uno? So it is kind of helpful just to go through the process of like check, build it first, and then run to upload so you can tell what's going on. Other than that, those other things, man, unless you have multiple things open, you don't really need to worry about it. Again, difference between uploading and verifying. Yeah, so, you know, again, feel free. I need to make this a little bit bigger here. So let's say I put that in there, right? And I'm like, hey, you know what? Verify that. Well, it's going to ask me, you know, where do you want to put this? Well, I just put it in here. Okay, so right, FSDF was not declared in the scope. Gives me a nice message, pretty good. Now, it's not as intuitive as obviously Visual Studio, but it's pretty good. You know, and again, if I uploaded that, I mean, I would have to read the error message and try and figure that out. And you guys should be getting better at that. Okay. File sketchbook. Okay, so there's another thing here, right?
So could we just use like Visual Studio to do the base of the code and just copy and paste it?
Yeah, and I looked at, because, you know, I'd like to keep it all together and nice and neat. And I looked at trying to put the plugin for the Arduino, and it was not as, there was some issues with it. And there was some reasons, I can't remember why I didn't go that route. I know I looked into it, I checked it out, and I'm like, you know what, this is not gonna really work well for us. Yeah. And it's nice to branch out a little bit, you know, use some other things. But what I want to point out is under File Examples, you'll see that built in, like without doing anything, you actually have a lot of examples. And we'll be looking at one of those here shortly. And a lot of times too, what'll happen is when you add in libraries, which you think about, you know, we talked about libraries, when I put those in here, they actually, some of them, most of them will come with their own set of examples, just so you can see how they look and how they work. So it's pretty nice. I think that was one of the reasons there too. It's because there was nothing to give us a nice, easy entry into that. Let's see. Oh yeah. So it should be over here. Yeah, it's this guy. Serial monitor. Now the serial monitor. It's not gonna let me open it, but it's also available under here. It's not gonna let me open it because I don't have my Uno plugged in yet. But over there in the upper right, serial monitor, you'll be using that. Also under tools, serial monitor, and all that is, think of it as the console window that we have seen before. It allows us to see what's like coming out of the Uno, right? So I can see if I say print a value out, like hello world, okay, I'll see it in the serial monitor. Because like at this point, where else would I see that? So that's a great troubleshooting, debugging tool to use as a serial monitor to see what's going on with the Uno.
So when we get to plugging it in, are we like kind of follow the rules of like a computer motherboard, don't touch it when it's plugged in?
Well, yeah, I covered that yesterday. I talked a little bit about that. You know, if my hands are wet, you know, maybe you've had this experience, you know, then my hand kind of becomes a conductor. And yeah, then if I grab it, but it's all shielded, so it's like you can touch it. But what you wouldn't want to do is be doing your project on a shag carpet and run around and, you know, you ever do that and then touch like a metal thing and you're like, let's see. Yeah, you will break it that way because you've gotten your electron in so far in balance between your body and anything else that, yeah, there'll be the differential there will be so great that, yeah, it'll blow up stuff. But yeah, don't fear it. And that's kind of what I say with what I make the video yesterday. I'm like, you know, take it out here, you know, it's gonna be fine. Is if it's running, yeah, you don't want to, you know, you don't want to take this and set the back of it on metal because you can see here that all these are, and again, the folks at home can't see this. So let me turn on the camera. So you have to look at my little picture here, but you can see here the back, the back on here. Yeah, if I set this on metal, that's going to short out all of those. So that's no good, right? But again, don't feel like scared of this, you know, and not being able to touch it. Yeah, if it's plugged in and running, yeah, you probably don't want to handle it a lot, especially if your hands are sweaty or wet. But at any rate, also make sure where you put it down that it, you know, like these desks are fine. Because they're non-conductive. Yeah, good. Thank you for bringing that up because I did not mention that yesterday. I mean, I very, very small thought about that. Yep. Got that. Serial monitor. The serial monitor allows you to bring up a box that conveys text messages or messages, text. From the Uno to your computer, and again, helpful for debugging. Messages to the Uno sends to us so we can either, you know, assess whether this sketch is operating as expected. So it's nice if I put in here some kind of message. Think about it. You know, if I have some different functions going on and I have my code gets pretty complicated, it's always nice to type in a line that says, hey, print this message, I'm in this function, right? We talked a little bit about that when we talked about, you know, the one thing. Oh, come on. It was in 205. It was the, I can't think of the dang word, stubs and drivers, right? So if I have these, you know, just a notification there that says, hey, I'm in this function. That kind of thing. So you can get an idea of your program flow. Where am I at? Where's the problem? Very helpful. Again, serial monitor is your friend there because we don't have the nice little step through function, right? So we can't just like step through, oh, here's where the problem is. Put a breakpoint in, like we can't do that here. All right. All right, so now we want to look at some preferences. So we want to go to File, Preferences. There's a whole bunch of crap in here. What do we need to look at here? So you can manipulate the network configuration. Auto detect. Think of your browser, like if you need to set up like a proxy to get a network connection out, then you would configure here. This is different. This is for the application. This is not for like the Uno, okay? So this is like, if I want to get updates from the internet and I need to use a proxy server in order to do that, it'll be the same settings in your browser. Not a lot of people really use this besides auto detecting. So you really shouldn't have to do anything in here, but I wanted to point that out. Updating libraries, this is an example. Also, you can easily install from a repository online, like a library that's not found in the ones that are searchable in the software. So if I want to install like somebody's repo of their library that they developed for something online, again, having a network connection allows you to do that right to the program. You may do that toward the end of the semester. Okay. And here we don't have to worry about that stuff. All right, now what? DVD preferences. Okay, so we got this, and then we have, yep, we're almost there. Menu items, okay. Create examples, port libraries. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff here. All right, so the file menu is where you create, open, save your sketch. And as you saw, when I tried to verify or compile mine, it wanted me to save it. It was like, hey, where do you want to save it? So it does, some of this stuff's automated. Yeah, like I said, under examples, we looked at those. As you install more libraries, you'll have more examples to look at and work with. And if I go to the edit, a lot of these things are shortcuts that you're probably already familiar with, such as undo, redo, cut, copy, copy from form, HTML, don't think you don't really need, but paste, increase intent, tab, shift tab. Those are all keys that you should be familiar with. Control F, Control G. There's no Control H, right? So that's find and replace. They should put that in there. I like using that one. Okie dokie. Under Sketch. What do you got here that's important? There's the place where you can include libraries. You can work with libraries, which again we'll be talking about shortly or soon, especially when we start working with. Well, hold on. Yeah, there's going to be something we're going to have to import a library on, I'm sure. Yeah. Okay, so the important one is really under tools. These are options here. Like you already know, there's a button for that, verify or compile. That's the check mark. Upload, you can just do Control U, or you can hit the little button. These you don't have to worry about. But again, we may come back to this. Nothing on these other ones. Here's the important one. Okay, so one of the things you have to verify is right here, board your board, everyone should be the Uno, okay? There's a whole bunch of other ones. That's the one you should have selected. And unless you're using other types of devices, you don't need to ever change that. Then you can see that port right now is not highlighted, right? It's gray. What does that mean? That means I don't have anything plugged in. This is relevant or important if you have multiple devices plugged in, and it doesn't even have to be multiple devices. You know, for example, I have a software program. It's called Putty. It works with, you know, allows me to communicate with network devices. Well, as soon as I fire that up, that's going to take a port up, right? Because I probably have a serial to USB connector to plug into a device. So you may have different ports listed on here. So you just want to make sure the right one is selected. For in here, I don't think we have a problem if you use the systems in here. Obviously, if it's not highlighted, it means it's not plugged in. You've already established that. So you have to look, something wrong with the USB cable, something wrong with the Uno. Okay. All right, and that's under board selector, and we already talked about that, yeah. So it looks like this. Right, and there's quite a few different things that you can see how many, then the list kind of goes on and on and on, right? As far as different devices. These are really cool. You know, a lot of these, you know, like the Arduino Micro. I mean, some of this stuff's like really uber small. And you, again, for some of these, you would need to have that hardware intermediary, right? You would, because the device doesn't have a USB port on it. So again, you know, some of these you obviously will never even see. But like the Lily Pad, I think that one has a micro USB on it, so you can plug it in. Kind of functions a little bit similar. At least one of the models do. That's a cool little device. All those are really cool. Any rate, just make sure we got that checked. Check. And then, come on. This is it. Okay, good. I'm glad we're going to have some time to play around. This is the last part. Like, how do I get my sketch to my Uno? Now, we said we need a USB cable. And we're going to, well, this is it. So we're going to start hooking up some stuff. So I'm going to plug it in, and you'll see the little bit of changes happening. Let's go back here. Alrighty then, and I may want to turn my camera on just so that way, because I wasn't going to get out the whole kit and caboodle today because I was literally just plugging in this and like that's it. But I'll fire up my camera so that way you can get a closer look. Lighting's probably off here. Yar. Now, as I mentioned before, you can see the top of mine is shaved off, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the Ethernet shield. So you don't have to do that right now. Don't like rush out and grind it down, because if you don't do it right, there's like plastic in the middle that you'll melt, and I'll go over all that stuff. But at any rate, here's the USB, right? That big dog, and we're just going to plug this guy in. Now, right here, you know, as this is plugged in, like I said, before I connect this to anything else, I probably will want to, whoops, I just pulled it out. Why is that not wanting to go all the way in there? But, yeah, so the first thing, like I said, what I'll want to do is probably write a sketch out for this, a blank sketch. So now let's go back and look. Clear this out. There we go. let's go back here. Let's get rid of this. And let's verify this. Now we can go to, well, we'll wait till this is done. All right. And maybe, I mean, for us, we'll probably want to bring this up a little bit. Right, so it's saying I don't see your device here, right? Even though I plugged it in. So here's what I'm going to do. All right. Well, this might be a little crappy. Here's what we'll do. Let's do it this way. Because what I just did really did create like a new, think of it as a new project. But here's what I want to do. Oop. All right, so, like I said, even let's like do a full new one, not just like an instance of one. So I'm going to fire this up and see, it's still grayed out. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to run it as administrator because I don't think, I'm going to just see, this is kind of, I don't want to say a test. And I'll give you these credentials if we need them. Oops. Oh yeah, it's different. Okay, so the question is, where did he go? Here he is. All right. Yeah, see, it didn't matter. I am thinking also, here's the problem I have. The problem I have is I have a USB, whatchamacallit? A port replicator, makes more USB ports. So I'm just going to kind of bypass that. Because I was positive, I know because I just did this, that you don't have to have it run as administrator. So let me do this. Let me bypass all this baloney. If I do that, though, I shouldn't have to. Well, we'll see. Oops. So I lost my mouse. All right, guys. So what's the deal?
I'll probably try closing all the windows first and then try relaunching it.
All right. Well, and we have something else we can check out too. Okay.
Can I try plugging mine into it to see if it's the board itself or anything other than software?
Well, I just used this yesterday. So here's what we'll do. It's going to tell me that, hey, you know what, you're not the administrator, but that's fine. We just want to look. And what we want to do is we want to go under, I can't see it. Yeah, it's not even recognized. So it's like, yeah. So it's like my computer's not recognizing the device that I'm plugging in, right? Because when I do this, it should pop up. Yeah, I didn't grab another one. I mean, this is working correctly, so I know, because I know the last sketch I wrote to it is the sketch that does this. So I know it's working. It's getting power, but it's like the communication's not working. I am afraid what I'm going to have to do is restart. I'm going to have to restart my computer. But what I can do is I can just connect into a different computer, right? Let's say PC2. So I'll just look it up over there. No worries at all. Okay. All right. No, the computers aren't called that, are they? Okay, so let's do it this way. Let's see. Okay. We'll do this guy. Oh, right. Who knows that? I don't. Because I did have to do some things. I needed to restart my computer, and I knew better. I should have done that before class. So again, you guys shouldn't have these issues or these problems. All right. Oh, I don't need the password, you dummy. Okay. Let's do one display. And there you go. And I'm thinking we need to set the display settings, something that is not microscopic. I can't even see that. There we go. Yeah. All right. So now we're cooking. Okay, so this is lab computers. So let's go ahead and fire this up. And we can also look, like we said, disk management. Come on, dude. Device manager. Yeah. Now you see here, the PCI serial port, don't worry about that. What we really are looking at is COM1. And I'm wondering if the only difference, Brett, would have been that I said no to this or cancel. So is that preventing me from connecting to my device? We could find out if we hit cancel and the port is still grayed out. The problem then becomes, in order to go back in and enable that, what I would have to do is go into yeah.
Canceling probably keeps the port closed then, right? Doesn't allow you to access whatever ports are in there.
Yeah, but how would that, I mean, I don't know. What's
I
meant?
allowed mine's working.
You allowed yours?
Yeah. But I mean, obviously I don't know what would happen.
I think that might be it. So, all right, well, let's just see. Man, because if I don't do this, how would I get back to this? It would just be so much work. I'm really curious, but not right now. So let's go ahead and do this. So now if you're in the lab, or you're using the lab computers, right, you need to know what this is. Because on each one of the computers in here, you have an administrator account. Obviously, it goes out saying don't abuse it, meaning don't make some torrent file server in here. Because if when I see that, then you'll have to get expelled. So do this. Here's the credentials. Now, this is just, I don't want to say TMI, but this is just helpful information for you guys. Like, if I don't know the computer name, do you see right down below where it says password, it says domain, it says CF-CS? If I, even like, let's say I didn't know what the computer name was, which I know it's lab-12, but you know, maybe you mess that up. Easy way to get around that is just use the current, you know, when we're talking about this object, right there you go. Maybe I already mentioned this, did I? No? Okay. We're saying use the current object is the current computer, so dot backslash, the dot just means whatever it is currently. Works out pretty nice for us CS peeps. And we're going to type in the administrator. Now, the password. Everybody has to be responsible for this. So if you want to write this down somewhere, again, don't share with other people. Well, you know what? I'll do it. I'll put it in the chat box, so that way you guys will have it. Okay. That's it. Now, and if you're like sitting in the back and you can't see it, here it is. All right. So write that down. It's the same thing as we normally have, except there's that crap at the end. Okay. So again, jot that down. So you got it. It's in the chat. So you can go back to the chat and see that. All right. And I don't think the profile will ever change, so it should be cool. See, and I'm not sure that was even needed. Whatevs. Well, I need to get in here because you can see that I only plugged in one thing. COM port 1. So I have to tell my IDE here that, hey, use COM1, right? And we already know that this is selected. So I'm going to say COM1 and excellent. So now, you know, there's really no need to verify this. I'm just going to upload it and there we go, a little bit bigger. And it's not going to let me resize it until it's done here. So I'm just writing my sketch to my Uno right now. First time might take a little bit. Still uploading. It takes a while to upload. There's a really huge sketch I've got, right? It's funny. It's still not. It's like it's still not went through there. Come on. You can also see a notification down here. Down the lower right corner, Arduino Uno on COM1, so you know it's connected there. And so what's the deal? It's not wanting to work out so hot for me. Okay. There you go. There's one way to fix that. Okay, and remember the settings from last time, so it's like, yeah, that's connected, good to go. I know there's no problems with it. May have been too many things for the first time running the program to try and do all of that. I don't know. What? There's also a little power button on your Uno as well. It's a little red dot. And honestly, I've never had this issue. Never had this problem. Am I forgetting something? Let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay, well, if, hey Devin, so you plugged yours in? You having any issue? Are you plugging it into your laptop or are you plugging it into?
I'll plug it in and just make that use.
Because I'm not really sure on this. This should not be a problem. It's like not being able to communicate to it. I know I used the same cable yesterday. Nothing that I could think should have changed. All right, well, it aired out. What did it say? It said problem uploading.
Yeah, mine is downloaded.
Yeah, it should be relatively quick there. And you're using it on your laptop though, right? I'm trying to think, the same version of this IDE will be on my laptop as in the class here. Yeah, it's like it's not responding, so why would it not be responding? I forget. Son of a gun. Well, I didn't bring my other kit. Well, we need to do this. We gotta be mindful of the time because we only have till what?
Just want to use mine.
No, I can get another one. Yeah, because we only have about 25 minutes here. I don't know, maybe it is. Okie dokie. Yeah, I think I know what it is. There's something wrong with the connector in mine. I have to look at that because I was like, well, gee whiz, it's not really going in correctly. So that's probably the whole problem. All right, so at any rate, notice that it picked up a new one. Do you see the difference there? Now, the first one said COM1. Like, hey, I think there's something plugged in. I don't really know what the heck it is. It says Uno here. So there's a good, I didn't need to go onto the internet for troubleshooting to figure that one out. But at any rate, what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to plug this back in here because now it'll be fine, right? Cool. All right, now we're cooking. So now I can get rid of this. All right. and, right, it comes up with the actual device, so good. So good, we get to see a little troubleshooting. And again, you don't need to do the administrator account, but there you have it. So one of the things, and this is, I don't want to say this is great, but, you know, we talk about with our programs, we're like, hey, you know what, let's put some comments in there, right? And let's talk about some stuff. Well, as you can see here, you know, this first block is all commented out, and it really tells me what it is and what I should expect. And the thing about the control pin, the digital, you know, you don't really have to worry about that. But all this is the equivalent to like a Hello World program, right? The blink. So if I go down here, again, the point is not to understand all of this stuff. But, you know, I'll be going over this in detail as we go along. We just want to hook up our Uno so we can just kind of play around with it a little bit. So, you know, just things that we need to know. Void setup, like that happens first, goes through it one time, and we're done. Okay, so this is like the first point of entry into our program is going to set up. Makes sense, right? So you're going to do what? Well, here again, pin mode, you know, knowing what that function is and the arguments, all that stuff, we'll talk about all that. So that's not that important. Really, all it's saying is we're just setting this one component, which is the built-in LED, like the little, there's a little LED on it. I'm setting it to be an output. Now, I need to Control Z that. But what I've added is a couple of things here. So from the default, you can see what I did. I said serial.begin. All that says, if you know, again, we're taking notes on this, the serial monitor. So when you see serial.begin, you're initializing the communication rate of talking with the serial monitor. When I say serial begin, this value here, and again, all this stuff is like, nice to know, do you need to know? Nah, not really. All you need to know is that if I want to talk to or output stuff to the serial monitor, I gotta like initialize that. And this is how you do it, right? You know, the baud rate here, you can set, don't worry about all that crap. TMI. So again, this just goes through, this is the addition I have, so I can communicate and see here with, you know, the serial monitor, right? And it's gonna say, hey, you know what? COM6 not available. We know now that we have to change that, right? Because it's not 6, it's 7. Okay. Well, right. Nothing really going on. Okie dokie. So, oh, yeah, I got all kinds of, this is all kinds of fun stuff. Deep. Now, if it's, this would be high, so that would be on, and then this will be off. So all this does, you know, and it says right here, this loop runs over and over again forever until, you know, there's no power on the thing or somebody steps on it, you know, right? So that's what happens. This loop just keeps going, looping and looping and looping. So you can use that to your advantage, right? For sampling, for all kinds of things that we'll talk about. But really all that's happening is you're writing out, and I'm going to go over all these functions in depth later. So again, it's not so important to really understand the functions in detail. Don't worry about it. We're going to come back to it. But it turns the LED built-in on, high. Then it puts a 1, prints a 1 out to the serial monitor. I wait, well, these are in milliseconds, so that's pretty fast. So this would be 1 second, right? 1,000. And so I'm going to wait for a second, and then I'm going to write a low, turn off the LED, and then I'm going to print a 0 to let me know it's off, and then I'm going to wait another second. So there's basically every second the thing's going to be blinking. That's all this sketch does. So just to make sure everything's cool, the gang, that I didn't mess up anything else, I better verify it first, right? As many problems as I've had. All right, so that looks good. Get the green light there. Now, it'd be helpful if we look on our camera, right here, to see what's going on. You can see there's one LED up here, the green one. That just means like, hey, we got power, right? But there's the built-in LED is right next to it. Sorry. It's up a little bit. So it's like right here. So that's what we're going to be looking for. Geez, I can't get my thing right. We're going to be looking for an LED blinking there. So let's go ahead and upload this. You'll see the lights kind of flash when it's communicating. You see how they're communicating? All right, so now it's done. So it's going to go 1, 1, 1,000, 1, 1,000, 1, 1, you know, right? So you got 1 second blinking LED on there. Again, this is a nice test sketch to run to make sure, as we've seen, everything's working well or correctly. I like to extend it out a little bit and say, well, we talked about the serial monitor. Let's look at this. So sure enough, every time that this is on, you know, you can see what's going to happen, right? If it's off, there should be a 0 out there. If it's on, there should be a 1. All right? 1 is on, 0 it's off. Okay, so the other thing too, and you can't have this open at the same time, another helpful tool that you could use, in addition to like outputting values here from your program, but you can't use it at the same time, is the serial plotter, right? It'll say, hey, you can't do that because there's already this open. So you can, it's only one or the other. And so if I open up the plotter, what you'll see, pretty cool. You know, it's got a range here. It's going from 0 to 1, right? 0 to 1. There's some really neat sketches online that you can, you know, mathematical, you know, functions you can map on here. There's all kinds of cool stuff you can do. Yep. You know, and if I, and as you saw, you know, I just played around with the numbers a little bit. Instead of going to 0, 1, I can go to really any range I want. Might be helpful for you later. Like I said, the serial monitor is, as opposed to a plotter, which we just looked at, the monitor is a lot more beneficial, I feel. Okay, so that's it. So we want to plug these in. You guys want to go through, make sure you get the LED blinking. And then feel free to add in the serial begin to communicate with it, so you can output stuff, and then you can see how you write out stuff. Print len, right, or print line. Print line works nice because it's like including the end line or a new line. Basically kicks out character key 13 or return, carriage return. Everything's built into that function, member function for the serial class that we'll talk about later. So that's it. Feel free to conquer the world now. Any questions? I know I don't think I even asked anybody if you had any questions, but if you do, I mean, please interject. Everybody's got it? All right, well, again, one of the things you want to do before class ends today is plug it in and make sure it works. You know, out of the box, it should work, but it might be that your device doesn't work. You don't want to be sitting at, you know, wherever on Saturday and you're like, okay, I'm going to go through this stuff, and you know what, my Uno, plug it in and it doesn't work, because then that sucks, because then you'll have to wait till Monday. When you had set aside the whole Saturday, instead of watching cartoons, you said, hey, I want to play around with my Uno. Because again, you'll find as we progress, after I go over all the fundamentals and basics and stuff, you know, the ball's in your court as far as what you're going to be doing. So you're going to have like a month to work on your own project. develop it. And, you know, I guess the point with that is, you know, again, the control is going to be on you. You want to make sure you got all the stuff you need. All right, so let's do that. Take the last 20 minutes of class here, load up your sketch, plug it in. If you have a problem, you know, I can get you another Uno. Answer any questions. Oh, wait. Well, yeah. We will, because we actually do have a Kahoot to do, but I would like to just take a few minutes. We'll do that for the last 8 minutes of class. And again, if you want to, if you want to download some of those cool functions like I was talking about, they're pretty sweet. Check them out. Let's see if I can. Serial plotter. Right. So, you know, again, you do have to look and make sure like this is like a verifiable site. Like whenever you see Adafruit, great company that makes a lot of peripheral devices, you pretty much trust anything from them. Yeah. All right, hold up. Yeah, so that's what it's all about today. Let's plug them in, make sure they're working, and you don't have a reject or one that's requalified.
So every time I try something to get to this.
All right, well, what are you gonna do on your thing? What's that? Yeah, right there. All right, 170. Let's, we're gonna stop sharing. I need to open up this. Oh, you dummy. Oh, there you are. Come on. All right, I got you. Come on, dude, you're killing me here. Now we need that open. Come on.
Oh, that's in my part.
Okay. All right, well, whatever, dude. You suck. So, here's what you do.
Look, I already installed it. It's a little baby button.
Yes,
Can you get a thing where you control
maybe
the
that's
baby?
the ABC.
On. Can we put this on here?
Hey Mondo, do you not have okay,
Oh.
there you go. Use this one.
Yeah. Speaking of these, my dad gave bought me this box. So he gave me one, so we can play Fallout together. I've just been downloading it since 6 p.m. yesterday, and it's still not over Fallout 76. Because I have Wi-Fi in my room, and for some reason, my grandma's Wi-Fi, there's like a shield, there's like force field that can block the Wi-Fi once you get into the hallway. It makes no sense.
What if you have a hallway?
No, I'm at the end of the hallway.
That's so bad. Maybe you just need to move.
All right.
My computer's plugged in, and it's using it. The Xbox.
Really?
You said it's plugged? Isn't it plugged? What's he say?
I don't know.
You said something else.
All right, let's see. Here, I saw your comment. Let me see if I find it. Yeah, I was gonna say, man, don't be yelling at like us like that. Okay, yeah, that's what Mondo said. So I gave him a Uno so you can check it out. So thanks.
Actually, Overwatch started calling Father content. Like,
Okay, and then we need to just verify that, because that's
well, mine was. Yours was.
Okay, wait, it's just past the municipal W0. I just did research. Okay,
All right, awesome.
I don't know what didn't say it was locked down, but it's cool now. Yeah, so plug in your device, make sure that guy works.
You did that.
And what we'll do is, just because we only have 5 minutes left, we'll just take the rest of the time to make sure that everything is getting ready for you. And that you're good to go. And then we'll do that on next Monday. We'll actually have 2 cahoots, right? So you'll have 2 things. Those things, the reason we do those cahoots is because they are on your homework, right? So I want you to look at those. Know what they are. Really, I don't want you to know what they are. I want you to really kind of think about it, but whatever. So we're going to do that on Monday. Also on Monday, please bring your digital multimeter, because again, I want to at least get, let me share the screen back out so you guys can see this. Yep. And yep.
because on Monday, I want us to at least work on, well, geez, I want us to work on this, right? I want us to get this done. Lab doesn't, you don't even have to connect. And when you watch that video, it'll make sense. The prototyping fundamentals, because you don't really even need your Uno. So really, you don't need your Uno. I just bring it anyway. But you at least need your digital multimeter. If you need one, I can lend you one. Another thing that I forgot to mention about the digital multimeter is that they are kind of fragile in that you can break the connectors off pretty easy on them. So just make sure you're not roughhousing with them. But bring those in. You just need to be able to demonstrate, and I'll go through how to do this, which is if you don't have a camera, like if you don't have a phone that has a camera on it, I can do that for you. I can take a picture and email it to you, so that way you can submit your assignment. I'll go over what that looks like on Monday. This should be hopefully a very straightforward and easy to complete lab, but this will set the stage for the other labs. Like you'll do the same process. You have to take a picture. One thing you also want to think about over the weekend is something like, now I've heard it pronounced sigil. I like to say sigil. I don't know what's really appropriate, but you know, like a symbol. Somebody used like a Matchbox car with their last name, like with a marker on it. But I need some way to identify Parker's image of his sketch, or not his sketch, his what he's doing versus Devin's, right? So I need to be able to tell, like, that's your work and that's your work. Yeah.
Well, we just write a sticky note with it on.
Yeah, I mean, you can get,
As long as your name is in the picture.
yeah, as long as there's something that identifies as yours, because what I don't want is people just like, hey, this is the lab, snap, and then give that person a picture, because our circuits are obviously going to look very similar. So I want you to do your own work, in other words. So you have to be taking a picture of stuff. And again, like if you don't have a camera, let me know. Like I could probably scrounge an actual camera up. I know I have one at home. That's like a digital camera you can plug in your computer and get a photo of it. Like you could have it. Well, you could borrow it. But let me know if you need anything in that realm. So bring that to class 2 on Monday. I think that's it. Any questions? And again, please feel free to play around with this Uno. I mean, the thing is really cool without even hooking in any peripheral devices. So that's what this class is about. You really are going to like it, honestly, I swear. Once you see what all this stuff is and what it does, I mean, the sky's the limit. This stuff is really cool. Okay, guys, so that's it. Let me know if you have questions, email me. I know that we'll be virtually tomorrow for the 315 class. Yeah, that one's going to be fun. Woohoo! So I'll see you then.
I saw Harry's message about caps.
I know, the guy was yelling at us. I still have my nose. All right, cool. Thank you. All right, yeah, the cleaner and everything's back there, so let me, yeah, if you want to run the cleaner, I don't think Parker's going to be there. Looks like I'm the only one here, so let's stop recording.